reporting. Back to you in studio, Chris.
The Warriors reportedly want no part of DeRozan, Monk, or Devin Carter in the Kuminga trade. Are they asking too much?
Yeah, I mean they're positioning for they're negotiating. They think they can ask. They're probably asking for Keegan Murray, and they know it's not going to happen. So then the Kings are countering Monk or DeRozan or Devin Carter, and they're like, nope, and they're trying to zero in on Keon Ellis. Now we've talked this to death. To be honest with you, I just want this thing. I'm so tired of talking about Jonathan Kuminga as the guy that wrote the question about Jonathan Kuminga, but really, it seems like every day is like Jonathan Kuminga combed his hair and he put on a headband. What does that mean for the future? It's like it's not like we're talking about Michael Jordan here, dude. Just figure it out, please. And yeah, I don't know, dude, but I would say Keegan Murray is too much. I understand if they maybe don't want Devin Carter, whatever, but it seems that it's circling around. I got a weird feeling Keon Ellis is the linchpin in this whole thing, depending on if the Kings decide to give him up or not.
Yeah, and if you listen to everything that Scott Perry has said and or Doug Christie, I really feel like this team is going to try to be a defensive-oriented team. Now, I don't know that they got I will say they don't have a roster filled of players like that, Dave, but Keon Ellis would be one that would check that box. So, and his contract is so favorable. Nobody's untradeable, but that's one that I wouldn't be, you don't have to have Kuminga. So you could play hardball. Like the Warriors are in the team that's a little bit more of a pinch than the Kings are in this situation. So if they're not interested in the guys that if the Kings really even are offering those up, then maybe you don't get Kuminga. Okay. Warriors, you got him still then. You figure out how to pay him.
Yeah, and he hasn't even responded to the contract offer they gave him. He's
Right.
just he might end up picking up that $7 or $8 million option that's laying out there, and then everybody will be in a weird spot. But yeah, just figure it out one way or the other. Question 2, please.
Question 2.
Is it time for the Kings to start looking at other free agents?
I mean, I'm sure they are, by the way. It's not like they're just, Kuminga or Westbrook or nothing, but I'm just looking. I'm looking at forwards, to be honest. I'm assuming this is updated. Forgive me if it's not. I'm just looking at a list in front of me. Emily Bates. I actually wouldn't mind if they signed Emily Bates just because I remember him in high school. It's like, okay, he's only 21, but he, hasn't exactly been blowing it up in the league. But it's, again, one of those, could it ever happen? Bol, Chris Boucher, Amir Coffey is a name that I think is kind of interesting. Torrey Craig, James Johnson's currently a free agent. No thanks. Kevin Knox, EJ Liddell. Yeah, it's kind of slim pickings out there, Jason.
Yeah, and they don't, have a ton of money. I mean, I think the Westbrook thing is probably still the one to keep our eye on as far as free agents. Yeah, the pools, it's a weird offseason. I think there was the splash right away. There were some trades that were exciting going in to the offseason here, basically, or to the finals and even into the draft. But now it's really thinned out. So I'm getting myself, Dave, used to that. This is going to be pretty close to the roster to begin the season. I could see it changing in season, but I think right now going into the year, it's going to be a little trickier for them.
All right. How do I want to do this here? Because normally this is where Chris would ask a question. You know what? I'm gonna skip you asking this, Chris, because I want to reveal this properly. Because I was thinking about something I wanted to bounce off of you guys. Now, notice when we went to what's available, I only talked about forward, which I do believe they need a power forward, and they have for 2 years. But I'm also trying to think in the spirit of thinking long term, right? Obviously, Jonathan Kuminga is somebody who would fit that longer term timeline, being 22 years old. He also could slide Keegan Murray back to the 3, although he'd probably be an undersized power forward, but that's nothing new. And he plays bigger than his listed height. But what are some other creative options? And so I started looking through different things. They also want to solve the point guard position. I think we all agree that Schroeder or Westbrook, if he were to come, or whomever, these are temporary solves. These are not permanent point guard solutions. I was like, all right, well, what's out there? And then I was scrolling through and I was like, yeah, looking at some news from yesterday, the Kuminga stuff, and Damian Lillard's happy to be back in Portland. We talked about the Bulls said they would release Vucevic if they couldn't find a trade partner. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Wait a minute, hold on here. What if they're looking in the wrong place? Why not look somewhere that they've looked probably too much at in the past? Whether it was DeMar DeRozan, whether it was Zach LaVine. They need to solve the point guard position long term. There is a free agent point guard out there that, and I'm not talking about Ben Simmons, that checks a lot of these boxes. Young, would be right there in the price range of a Jonathan Kuminga, currently out of contract. Very bright future. Definitely some, I mean, there's still the red flag out there, but, this whole team is a red flag. But what if we could talk to the Bulls again and see if we could maybe help each other out? And so here's what I was thinking. The Sacramento Kings trade Domantas Sabonis. In return, they get Nikola Vucevic, a future first, and a signed and traded Josh Giddey. Just please hear me out on it. Let me say a couple of other things before you freak out. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm saying the royal freak out. Vucevic had a little over a point more a game than Sabonis. He had two. We're talking, by the way, lifetime. I could go to last season, but overall, he has 0.2 less of a rebound, 10.7 to 10.5. Sabonis has him by 2 assists. They're equal with steals. Vucevic has a block a game. Sabonis has half a block. Vucevic is just, as far as 3-pointers go, Vucevic actually makes 1.5 3-pointers a game on 4.5 shooting versus half and 1.4. Obviously, Sabonis has stepped it up, but they're both basically the same. I'm not saying Vucevic is Sabonis, but it's what I said yesterday. He's like diet Sabonis. Now, here's the other thing. You've now pushed Sabonis' contract over to Chicago, and Vucevic is on an expiring. So you either that money goes away and frees up in a world where the CBA is crazy and nobody has money, and Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis have extensions coming up, or you're probably able to extend Vucevic if you want to some. I think if you gave Vucevic a 2-year, $25 million deal next year, you're going to be in the ballpark. And I'm not trying to say Vucevic is as good as Sabonis, but I think a lot of people would be very surprised to see how close they are. Or should I say how not far off of Sabonis Vucevic is. But the prize of the deal is you're getting Josh Giddey. You're getting a Josh Giddey who is 22. He's been in the league. It's almost like Kuminga. In fact, I want to say they might have been in the same draft. He's been in the league 4 years, just like Kuminga. So yeah, they were in the same draft. He was in OKC those first 3. Chicago his last year. Obviously, he's had some things off the court, which seemingly is behind him. And last year, Jason, 14.5 points, 8.1 boards for a point guard, 7.2 assists on splits of 46, 38, and 78. He's 6'8", and he won't be 23 until October 10th. Now, maybe I'm dreaming a little bit, and I got purple glasses on when I say you might also get a future first out of this, but you're helping them out with the whole Vucevic situation. And if he and I read I took a deep dive. They're $10 million a year apart right now. Giddey and the Bulls. He's saying he wants 30. They want to give him 20, and obviously they'll figure it out. If they do, they'll figure it out probably somewhere in the middle. But if you told me you could get a signed and traded Josh Giddey at like 4 years, 100, 4 years, 115, 110, just poke holes in that for me.
Well, the first one, just what you overall proposed, I just don't know that Chicago would give up that. I mean, maybe the Giddey part and the Vucevic part, the first rounder as well. I think that seems too much to me.
I think you're right. I think I was just trying to tiptoe into this for Kings fans, but I do. I think you're 100% right. I don't think they do that.
So then let's just say it's straight up those two for one, basically, because that's where contracts would kind of have to be.
Yeah.
So, I can see it from the Kings side, first and foremost. I think what you're doing, I'll take it from each side. I'll start with the Kings. Yeah, Giddey would be the prize. Giddey would be you'd have your point guard, you would think, of the next 4 years or so, at a younger age, good height, all that kind of stuff. And you could see what his potential is. Vucevic would be a different look than Sabonis, and the fact that he's expiring, there could be some draw there. I think you're then kind of repositioning your issue, though, if you're the Kings. Yeah, you may have addressed the point guard, which is good, but you probably have one of the best centers in the league right now, and Vucevic isn't as good as Sabonis, but he's not terribly far off, but he would be further down the ladder. And if you don't re-sign him, or the fact that he's older, you may lose him in a year, and then you're kind of now at the problem, like, who's your center of the future? So you're kind of moving it, but that's, they don't have the point guard position solved right now. On the Bulls side, I don't know. I think Sabonis right now is the best player in that whole thing, but I wouldn't know what they're doing in a sense of where does this take them per se. Like, Giddey is still, to me, it's nice to have a young prospect that, what is it? You said 22, 23?
22.
And Sabonis isn't a dinosaur by any means, but it feels like they're a little further away by getting Sabonis, even though he might be the best player in the mix. Do you get everything else right around him and then make some sort of run in the East? I just don't know. I'm not sure that they would do it, but I'm not anti it. I just don't know if that could come to fruition for the Bulls.
You're looking at a team that's going Kobe White / Kevin Huerter. I had assumed Moon, Isaac Okoro, Buzelis, and Patrick Williams, and then it would be Sabonis with Zach Collins backing him up. Point guard would then, that would be a question with them. Hell, the Kings could probably throw in Devin Carter and say, have fun with it. But
yeah, would you rather be, if you were them, though, by the way, like, okay, let's still play with Vucevic, and then we're out of that contract at this time next year? Or deadline this year, we can move him and kind of start this process quicker.
I told you yesterday, I don't understand why. I mean, to me, Vucevic is looking at his numbers. He's on a fairly friendly, valuable deal. Yes. On top of that, he's an expiring. So I don't know why the Bulls are in this. It's almost like he's a dead asset. I don't understand that. He's an expiring $20-something million. Oh, and by the way, it's not like we're talking about dead weight. 18.5 points, 10 boards, 3.5 assists last year with a steal and a block. Like, this is not dead weight. This is an above average center, very much above average center. And I understand the empty calories, and there's a little bit of empty calories there, but there's a little bit of empty calories with Domantas Sabonis too. You have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I would say the other part for Chicago, it feels like everything that they've done lately has been to remove themselves from contract. Zach LaVine, that was their biggest contract, or get younger. And, if you move Vucevic for Sabonis, technically you get a little bit younger, but Giddey is kind of would be the one piece that you go, hey, that's the guy we're comfortable being our highest paid player. Right now, Vucevic at $21 million is their highest paid player. That's pretty crazy.
Okay, so that didn't go exactly how I thought it would, but in the end, if you're Scott Perry and Chicago calls you and offers up Vucevic and a signed and traded Josh Giddey for Domantas Sabonis, do you pull the trigger?
If Scott Perry was offered that?
Because you've the way it didn't, I was very nervous about bringing this up.
Well, what did you think it would go?
I thought people would lose it. Like, what are you doing? Screw Josh Giddey. He sucks. Vucevic sucks. Why are you getting rid of Sabonis? He's our best player. You're a moron. Bulls West. Blah blah blah.
Well,
Your
there's
face
some of
is
that
stupid.
on here.
Yeah, but with you, it sounds to me that the holes you are poking, not completely, but that predominantly are Bulls probably wouldn't do. Which, by the way, I don't disagree with you. I do think if anybody said no to this, it would probably be the Bulls based on where it seems they're going, but also they're kind of dumb like we are. So, if you're Scott Perry, do you take that deal?
I think I would probably do it this way. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I could know. All right, let me see how I could do this. So the offer is Sabonis for
Giddey and Vucevic, and Giddey would be, let's say, hold on. So Vucevic 20, Josh Giddey would be on a 4-year, $100 million deal, which I also think, by the way, is not likely, but it's in the neighborhood.
I think I would do it if I could also then do the Kuminga one, whatever that is, because then I think you've done the overhaul and you've changed the team. So then, Kuminga, Vucevic, Giddey. I don't know what's left. Probably Levine and Keegan, I guess.
Yeah, because I was thinking with Giddey's contract is probably going to be more like, well, I think you can get him at 4 years, 100, but then now all of a sudden, I don't know if that works with what Sabonis. I don't know if Giddey and Vucevic combined, I think that might go over what Sabonis makes. So you may have to include, maybe that's where you include a Malik Monk or whatever. But then if you were be able to turn around, okay, you have to do both of these deals. Here's the deals. But and the only way it works is if you agree to both, Jason Scott Perry. Nikola Vucevic and Malik, let's just say for fun, Malik Monk, because we need to, it could be Monk, it could be DeRozan, send it back, whatever it is, it's not going to be. But my point is Malik and something, or excuse me, Sabonis and something minor for Vucevic and Giddey, and then you turn around and trade a future protected first, lottery protected, and Keon Ellis for Jonathan Kuminga. So you're in fact trading Keon Ellis, Domantas Sabonis, let's just call it Malik Monk, and a lottery protected future first in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga and Josh Giddey, to which your starting lineup would now look something like Josh Giddey, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, or switch those. No. Josh Giddey, LaVine probably, Keegan Murray, Jonathan Kuminga, and a year of Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, and if that, in that situation, if you could convince Doug, Scott Perry, to then have a bench of DeRozan and Schroeder.
And by the way, here's the other part of
young guys.
Yeah, there's the other part I'm not talking about, because you've also got Nick Clifford.
Yeah.
You've got and then the thing I'm thinking also in the back of my head, but I don't want to put too much on it, is, well, as you said, obviously you've got a center issue, but I can think of worse people to learn behind than Nikola Vucevic for Maxime Reynaud. So that might be your future solve at center anyways. At the very least, you're giving him some extra time there. There's an opening at the 5, and it's not completely out of the ballpark that by the end of the year, he's starting. If he's doing what he needs to do, what do you care? Vucevic is probably gone anyways. But now all of a sudden you have a situation where you've got Josh Giddey at the point. You're still probably trying to move Levine and DeRozan, but you've got Clifford. So you got this core, if you would, Jason, of Josh Giddey, Nick Clifford, Keegan Murray, Jonathan Kuminga, and then if it works, Maxime Reynaud, and you still have a Devin Carter or something else in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're really ultimately, if you did that, you're kind of building around Kuminga and Giddey, right? With seeing if Murray can fully develop into the two-way guy they think they can, and then see if any of those other young guys become something. I don't know. It's intriguing. It's different. I already see plenty of people saying Bulls West, and yeah, it didn't work in Chicago. Well, it's just different. You don't know if it would work here or not. Kuminga would be a different part of it. Giddey in a different situation. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I like the fact that they would be different because we've talked about it. I think they can go into this year with the team they have and with a few tweaks maybe be better, but I think you're working on a little bit of hope as opposed to knowing that they will be better.
No, I totally agree. And to be really clear here, I mean, it's summertime, we're throwing stuff out. What I like about this, especially if you're able to do Kuminga as well, is that now you have this direction and now you have this core. You just got very much younger. And for me, that's super exciting. That's building towards something. And you got yourself a couple of lotto tickets. On the other hand, I'm not convinced that it's the right mix and I'm not convinced it's the right moves, but I would be happy with that direction that they're ultimately going to need to go, I think. Anyways, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go back on some of those NFL notes. I want to get to the Raiders question I have for you. And also,